The poisoning of humanity's wine. In the vast expanse of the universe, humanity had always been seen as a mere speck, a fragile, unpredictable species caught in endless cycles of conflict and division. Yet, the aliens who observed Earth from afar had underestimated the most crucial aspect of the human spirit, resilience. They had watched us, fascinated by our constant wars, our fleeting moments of peace, and our untapped potential. But it was our weaknesses that intrigued them the most. Among them was the K, an advanced civilization whose intellect and technology were far beyond anything humanity could ever imagine. They saw us as little more than ants beneath their feet, and yet they couldn't help but wonder, could we truly survive a challenge far greater than we had ever faced? The K decided to test this theory, believing that their highly advanced bioweapon would be the ultimate proof of humanity's fragility. They called it the Withering, a toxin so potent, so insidious, that it could unravel human biology at a cellular level. The K were confident that they could introduce it into Earth's water supply without detection, and within weeks, the poison would be global, killing millions in a matter of days. They weaved it into the very essence of life on Earth, the water. Humanity, unaware of the threat lurking beneath the surface, continued their lives as usual. Water flowed through cities, villages, and the farthest reaches of the planet, each drop carrying the silent death sentence that had been issued by the K. The K watched, waited, and expected humanity to wither, to fall to their knees in defeat. But they were wrong. Humans did not fall. Rather, they began to adapt. As the first signs of the poisoning began to appear, fevers, rashes, and a mysterious wave of weakness that spread across the globe, there was panic. People scrambled for cures, desperate for a way to survive. But the K, thinking they had already won, underestimated one thing, the very thing that made humanity thrive, our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight back. Unbeknownst to the K, humanity was already on the brink of a breakthrough. The poisoning, rather than destroying us, had sparked an unprecedented wave of collaboration across nations. Scientists, doctors, and ordinary citizens began to work together, pooling knowledge, resources, and ideas in ways that had never been seen before. They understood that survival was no longer a matter of individual effort, it was about unity, collective strength, and the will to rise against an overwhelming force. The first signs of a countermeasure began to emerge in laboratories across the world. A team of researchers in New Zealand isolated a potential antidote, while a group of engineers in South America developed a filtration system capable of purifying the poisoned water. And then, there was the unexpected. The human immune system, so diverse and adaptable, began to show signs of resistance to the toxin. The K, still observing from the shadows, were caught off guard. What they had assumed would be humanity's downfall was instead the catalyst for a global effort unlike any the universe had ever witnessed. As the antidote spread across continents and the filtration systems cleared the poisoned water, the K realized that their experiment had failed. Not only had they underestimated the strength of humanity's resilience, but they had also awakened a force that could not be contained. Humanity was fighting back, not with weapons, but with the most powerful tool of all, innovation, the rising defiance. As the global efforts to combat the poisoning gained momentum, the K, sitting in their hidden citadels on distant planets, began to question their initial conclusions about humanity. They had thought that the withering would break our spirits, would prove that we were incapable of survival. But instead, it had ignited something within us. The resilience of humanity, the very trait they had dismissed as weakness, had become our greatest weapon. On Earth, the first significant victory came when scientists in Asia developed a revolutionary cure, a serum that not only neutralized the withering but also gave humanity an unprecedented level of resistance. With this breakthrough, the human race turned the tide. The K had been watching, but now they were the ones in shock. Across the globe, governments began to organize efforts to distribute the cure to every corner of the planet. What had once been a divided world, torn apart by politics and war, was now united by a common cause, survival. Communities that had once been rivals came together to share knowledge, resources, and solutions. The challenge was no longer about defeating the poison, it was about defeating the fear and distrust that had long divided the human race. As the cure began to spread, a new kind of hope emerged. The world, once filled with skepticism and despair, was now filled with the promise of renewal. People who had never thought to collaborate were now working side by side, united by the desire to protect their loved ones and preserve their way of life. Yet, the K still underestimated humanity. They believed that once the withering was defeated, humanity would return to its old ways. They failed to see that the experience had changed us. We were no longer the fractured species we had once been. The unity forged in the crucible of the withering would be our greatest strength going forward. Meanwhile, as Earth fought back, the K began to realize that they had awoken a force far stronger than they had ever imagined. What they had seen as an experiment was now a battle not for survival, but for the future of humanity, the final challenge. With the withering neutralized, humanity was stronger than ever before. Yet, as the K observed from the edges of the galaxy, they began to formulate a new plan. They had underestimated us once, but they were not going to make the same mistake again. Instead of directly attacking humanity, they decided to test us in a more subtle way, through a new challenge. The K launched a series of calculated attacks on Earth's technology, infiltrating our communication networks, and sabotaging our infrastructure. The poison had failed, but now they sought to cripple humanity's ability to organize, to think, to survive. But once again, they had underestimated our ingenuity. As the K launched their cyber assaults, a team of human hackers, engineers, and strategists worked in secret to counter every move. Humanity's resilience was no longer just about physical survival, it was about adaptability, quick thinking, and the ability to come together even when faced with new, unseen challenges. Despite the K's attempts to sabotage humanity's infrastructure, the attacks only spurred humanity to innovate faster. In response to the cyber attacks, new technologies emerged, defense systems, communication networks that could withstand any threat, and even weapons capable of disabling the K's advanced systems. The battle was now on Earth's terms. The K had failed to see that every challenge they imposed upon humanity only made us stronger. With each new test, we adapted, we evolved, and we proved that no matter what they threw at us, we would survive. And in doing so, humanity had discovered its true strength, not in defeating a single foe, but in overcoming any obstacle that dared to stand in our way. Humanity's triumph. At this point in the conflict, the K were in disarray. Their confidence in their technological superiority had been shattered. What they had assumed was a mere test had turned into an all-out war of ingenuity, willpower, and determination. Humanity had proven that we could survive, adapt, and overcome. And now, we were fighting back with everything we had. The final phase of the battle came when the K, realizing they could not defeat humanity, attempted to make peace. But it was not the peace of the victor, it was the peace of the defeated. They offered us technology, knowledge, and alliances. They offered to share their advanced capabilities, to help humanity reach new heights of prosperity. But humanity had already learned an important lesson: we didn't need their help. We had our own strength, our own potential, and our own way forward. The K had underestimated our resilience, and now, they would see the full extent of what humanity was capable of. With unwavering resolve, humanity rejected their offer, standing firm in the knowledge that we had survived on our own terms. And in doing so, we had proved the most powerful lesson of all, that what doesn't kill us truly makes us stronger. A new dawn for humanity. The K, in their distant enclaves on planets scattered across the galaxy, watched as humanity embraced the dawn of a new era. The withering had not only failed to defeat us, it had served as the catalyst for a profound transformation. The aliens had believed that by poisoning our water, they would weaken us, divide us, and perhaps break our spirit. Instead, they had ignited a fire within the hearts of every human being, unifying us, forging a collective strength that could not be extinguished. For the first time in history, the planet Earth had become truly united. The days of endless conflict between nations, races, and ideologies were now fading into the past. The poison that had been intended to tear us apart had instead awakened humanity's greatest strength, our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to work together for the greater good. No longer did borders separate us, we were now one people, bound by a shared experience and an unshakable will to protect our world and future. As humanity began to rebuild, there was a new sense of purpose, a deep understanding of our own potential. The advances made in the fields of science, technology, and medicine were extraordinary. The knowledge and resources that had been harnessed to combat the withering were now being used to heal the planet, to restore ecosystems that had suffered for centuries, and to eliminate diseases that had long plagued our species. The same human ingenuity that had allowed us to survive the K's toxin was now being applied to create a world that was stronger, healthier, and more resilient than ever before. Across the globe, humanity found itself forging partnerships that would have seemed impossible just a few years earlier. The once divisive forces of competition and distrust were being replaced by cooperation and shared progress. It was as if the withering had wiped the slate clean, forcing us to reevaluate our priorities and refocus on what truly mattered. People from all walks of life, scientists, artists, engineers, farmers, and teachers, were now collaborating as equals, each contributing their unique skills and perspectives to the collective effort. But while the K were stunned by humanity's remarkable recovery, they also began to see something else emerging from the ashes of the withering, a species that was not only resilient but evolving. The experience had changed us. We were no longer the same fragmented, divided people that we had been before the poisoning. Humanity had matured, not just as individuals, but as a collective consciousness. We had learned to look beyond our differences and see the potential in unity. As Earth healed, so too did the human spirit. The survivors of the withering had not only overcome a near-catastrophic event, but they had also discovered a new sense of purpose. No longer was the fight for survival merely about staying alive. It was about thriving, about pushing the boundaries of what was possible. It was about creating a future that would honor the sacrifices made by those who had lived through the darkest days of the withering. And so, as humanity moved forward, one thing was clear: we would never be the same again. The K, still monitoring from afar, began to realize that humanity had changed in ways they hadn't anticipated. They had assumed that the withering would break us, that we would crumble under the pressure. Instead, they had witnessed the awakening of a force that could not be defeated, humanity's capacity for growth, transformation, and resilience. The K were left with one undeniable truth: we had not only survived their poison, we had transcended it. As we continued to evolve, the question that lingered in the minds of the K was this: would they ever be able to challenge humanity again? Could they, with all their advanced technology and resources, ever outmatch a species that had learned to rise stronger from every setback, to adapt to every crisis, and to grow in the face of unimaginable adversity? The answer was uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity would no longer be a pawn in anyone's game. We were no longer the weak, fragile species they had once deemed insignificant. We were now a force to be reckoned with, a force that, once tested, had proven that nothing could hold us back, the call of the stars. As humanity flourished in the aftermath of the withering, there was a growing sense of something greater on the horizon, a realization that the survival of Earth was just the beginning. No longer were we confined to the battles of our past; the future, vast and full of possibilities, beckoned. The scars of the withering had healed, but the fire it ignited in our hearts still burned brightly. With newfound unity and technological advances, humanity began to look beyond the borders of Earth. The poison that had once threatened to destroy us had opened our eyes to the strength of our collective spirit. We had learned that when faced with impossible odds, we didn't just survive, we thrived. Now, we were ready for the next challenge. The stars above, once distant and untouchable, no longer seemed so far away. The dream of exploring the cosmos had always been a part of humanity's imagination, but now, it was within reach. In cities around the world, governments and private organizations began to direct their efforts toward space exploration. Resources once spent on military conflicts were now being funneled into research and development for interstellar travel. Humanity was determined to not only survive the challenges on Earth but to take its place among the stars, to prove that we were more than a species defined by its struggles, but one that could shape its own destiny. The first major milestone came with the launch of the Celestial Horizon, humanity's first fully functional deep space vessel. Built with the combined efforts of scientists, engineers, and explorers from every corner of the globe, the Celestial Horizon was not just a ship, it was a symbol of everything humanity had become. It represented the ingenuity, the unity, and the boundless ambition that had been born from the fires of adversity. The mission was clear: to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of human knowledge, and to establish contact with alien civilizations, if they existed. The crew aboard the Celestial Horizon was a diverse mix of individuals, scientists, diplomats, engineers, and astronauts, each chosen for their skills, their passion, and their unwavering belief in humanity's potential. As the ship hurtled through the cosmos, humanity's voice was no longer a whisper on a tiny blue planet. It was a beacon, a declaration that we were ready to join the interstellar community. No longer would we be the passive subjects of experiments conducted by powerful alien civilizations. Now, we were ready to prove ourselves, to show that humanity could stand shoulder to shoulder with the universe's most advanced beings, not as inferiors, but as equals. But while humanity's journey into the stars had begun, the K were not done watching. From their hidden citadels, they observed the launch of the Celestial Horizon with a mixture of awe and concern. The withering had failed, and now humanity was reaching for the stars, something that the K had not anticipated. Their initial belief that humanity was nothing more than a fleeting, weak species was being shattered with every passing moment. Humanity's resilience had transformed us into something they had never expected, a force that was not only capable of surviving, but of thriving in the face of unimaginable odds. The K knew that their experiment had failed, but what they didn't know was how deeply the human spirit had been changed. The withering had been their attempt to break us, but instead, it had forged us into a species that was no longer bound by the limitations of our past. We were becoming something more, something capable of defying the very forces that had sought to destroy us. The crew aboard the Celestial Horizon made their first contact with an alien species, a peaceful, technologically advanced race called the Nilorians. The Nilorians were curious about humanity, intrigued by our rapid technological progress and the story of how we had survived the withering. They had seen species rise and fall across the galaxy, but never had they encountered a race so willing to push past its weaknesses, to adapt and overcome challenges as humans had done. Humanity's first encounter with the Nilorians was peaceful. The Nilorians shared knowledge of advanced technologies that could help humanity in its quest to explore the stars, but they also warned of the dangers that lay beyond. The galaxy was filled with beings far more advanced than humanity, some benevolent, others hostile. The K, despite their failure to destroy humanity, were still a threat. And there were other civilizations, darker and more dangerous, who would see humanity's newfound strength as a challenge to their own power. But the Nilorians were clear: humanity was no longer the weak species the K had once thought us to be. We had proven that we could rise from even the most devastating of challenges. And now, the galaxy was watching. Humanity's place in the cosmos was no longer a question, it was an inevitable reality. As the Celestial Horizon continued its journey through the stars, humanity's story began to unfold across the galaxy. We were no longer merely survivors of a poisoning experiment, we were explorers, innovators, and adventurers. Our place in the universe had been earned, and no one would ever again be able to deny the strength, ingenuity, and resilience of humanity. For the K, the failure to break humanity had become their greatest mistake. They had tried to destroy us, to prove our weakness, but in doing so, they had unknowingly opened the door to a future where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars. And as the first humans ventured into the unknown, they carried with them a message to all who would listen. What doesn't kill us, makes us stronger.